the first thing is, as I've stated before in the show, and if you missed the show yesterday, that's okay. You can download the podcast. If not, don't worry about it. I'll recap it. Steve Kerr did nothing wrong, everything right. The only people who believe he did something wrong by not playing Jayson Tatum are people who do not coach, have not coached, especially in this particular situation. He didn't do anything wrong. Nothing. Okay, the game was close. He made some subs. And when Jokic was out of the game, that's when they were 26 points better. He used a three big guy rotation. I thought he was brilliant with the 10 players he played. And playing Jayson Tatum is a lot like putting another team in the NCAA tournament. Everybody wants 75 teams in. You put somebody in, you got to take somebody out. So instead of one guy maybe being unhappy, now you have several guys unhappy. And at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is they won the game. They won the game handily. And if you think for 1 second, I saw Stephen A. Smith, who clearly, look, he didn't really play organized basketball. I don't know how much he actually played in college because he played one game and averaged 1.5 points. That doesn't seem to be possible. Okay. Regardless of which, it wasn't like he was a 35-minute guy, 35-minute a game guy. And he just wasn't. But his suggestion that you had to 5 minutes, you could have put him in there the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. But you don't play guys those last 5 minutes, one, when they're not traditionally bench guys. They're not loose. They run the risk of getting hurt. And oh, yeah, by the way, it's way more embarrassing to play a guy scrub minutes than it is to not play him. And when you're managing Team USA as the coach, you can't concern yourself with people's feelings. You just got to do what's right for the team. So Steve Kerr did nothing wrong. But let's see as we get ready for the South Sudanese game. Right? South Sudan challenged us last time around. We were very fortunate. LeBron James had to bail us out with a big drive and bucket in order to win the game. So this will be a competitive game. And Steve Kerr has said, hey, I'll play Tatum this game. But the idea, jamming a square peg into a round hole when you've evaluated that others are ahead of him, only shows that if you, right now, if you play Jayson Tatum big minutes tomorrow, you are overcorrecting and you're giving into the pressure of social media. And by the way, we've seen this in lots of different places. There's no real argument he can make. He understands it. He's made all the smart statements. He's like, look, we had 10-man rotation. You can't get 12 in. Coach K was on with Dan Patrick. He basically said, hey, I want to play 9, 10 guys. Some guys might not play. Chris Paul was on with Colin Cowherd. And he's like, look, the best players on USA basketball, the most meaningful ones, are the ones that didn't play, the Michael Reds of the world that didn't play. And the only people that really have an issue with it are guys with Boston by their name on social media. Anybody from Boston seems to be bothered by it. Like NBC Sports Boston, guys are complete. They're just homers. It's okay. So they're supposed to be. And people who view things like from the NBA prism of respect. It's about respect. No, it's not. Trying to win a basketball game. Only thing that's important is you win a game. The second it becomes about something else is the second that you've lost your team. You're not coaching anymore. But if he bends over backwards and plays Jayson Tatum way too much tomorrow, he's not just giving in to all the social media pressure of the NBA or whatever, but it will cause far more problems because now everybody's going to bitch after a game. Every single one, wouldn't you? If the sticky wheel gets the grease, then everybody's going to be the sticky wheel. I am more concerned with the overcorrection. And look, I could draw a direct parallel in the overcorrection to what the Packers did with Jordan Love and definitely to what the Dolphins have done with Tua Tagovailoa. You don't think so? Look, I think the Dolphins massively overspent on Tua. But if you ask a Dolphin fan, or somebody around the Dolphins who covers the Dolphins, be like, look, dude, I get it, but they've been waiting since Dan Marino to find a franchise quarterback, and here's one that everybody likes. He's good enough, and now you're set at quarterback for the next 4 years. So because you couldn't find a quarterback for 30 years, now you're going to overpay the one you've had for 4, who's been hurt a bunch and doesn't have a particularly good arm? Yes. Okay. That's an overcorrection. Do I think that Jordan Love has earned the right to be the starting quarterback of the Green Bay Packers? Yeah, damn right. Do I think he earned the right to get a reasonable contract? Sure. But if you paid him more money than everybody else in the NFL simply as a Aaron Rodgers, and an overcorrection for barely paying Jordan Love this year, yeah, I think that's a mistake as well. You don't need to overcorrect when you didn't make a mistake. Steve Kerr didn't make a mistake. The Packers didn't make a mistake on Jordan Love. They did not. Getting him for, less than like $12 million this year was not a mistake. That's capitalizing the fact that to that point, he had not produced the level that everybody was confident in giving him, picking up his 5th year or giving him a long-term extension. And then he was good last year. Was he best player in the league, biggest contract in the league? Hell no. And I'm a Jordan Love fan. Anybody realizes that. But we've taken to this overcorrection thing, right? The overcorrection gets you in just as much, if not more trouble than the original mistake. And you only overcorrect if you mistake, right? Why do people crash cars when they fall asleep? What happens? They wake up and they jerk the wheel and then they overcorrect, and that's how they flip a car. Overcorrection is what leads to most car accidents, most overturned vehicles. Is you fall asleep, you're not paying attention, you veer out of the way, then all of a sudden you jerk the car back, it overcorrects, and then it's just too big the G-force and everything is pulling you too much in the other direction. And that's what I feel for. You're coming off of a great win. The only thing Steve Kerr should have said was, wait, what? Excuse me? You're questioning who I sub? I'm looking at the scoreboard. It was tied at the end of the first quarter, won by 26 points from the number 4 ranked team internationally. And we did a hell of a job. And we got some of the best performances out of Kevin Durant we ever thought could have been possible. What happens is if you overcorrect, you're admitted you made a mistake, which he did not make. And that's what leads oftentimes to those overturns. Okay, so we are, depending on when you download this pod, we're like 12 hours away from game 2 of Team USA basketball this year, right? And what's interesting about it is there's just so much bullshit with this Jayson Tatum stuff. And I'm fascinated by it because this is where, and Jayson, I can guarantee you're wondering this as well. We would all agree that Steve Kerr is woke, right? That's fair? Okay. And one of the things that being woke is about is being aware of how things affect other people of other cultures, and obviously it delves. What's changed with this movement is it's taken on all these ulterior meanings, and it is a progressive / liberal sort of way of looking at the world. But it's also one of these like, hey, I understand your feelings. We want to make you feel better. We want to make everybody be happy. I got to tell you, being a coach this is not in any way a democracy. It is a dictatorship. Okay? It is a dictatorship. It doesn't work otherwise. Hey, guys, do you wanna? What do you think? I'm not sure. That doesn't work. Not in that culture. And I think it's just fascinating to see, I think Steve Kerr, behind the closed doors, sneakily, hell of a coach, hell of a leader, knows how and when to push buttons. Now, he let the Draymond thing spin out of control. He has never been able to reel that thing in. It's probably cost them a championship or 2 in Golden State. It really has. Let's see what he does tomorrow. Because if you play Jayson Tatum 25 minutes, you're admitting fault for doing nothing fucking wrong, ever. You played to win. You pushed all the right buttons. You made the right decisions. That was your evaluation. You told the player beforehand he might not play. He didn't play. You didn't throw him in garbage time to embarrass him. You handled it perfectly. Now, how do you handle this one?